Welcome back. Now we've implemented damage and we even have headshot damage, which is higher than hitting the body, and we're now ready to show the enemy's health in the form of a health bar. Let's go ahead and get started. Now we're going to go to our HUD folder and we're going to create a new widget blueprint for the enemy health bar. Let's go to User Interface, Widget Blueprint, and let's call this Enemy Health Bar BP. Now I'm going to open this, and right off the bat, the first thing I'm going to do is remove the canvas panel since we don't need that. Now from the palette, we have Progress Bar. We can select that and bring that in. I'm going to bring in a Progress Bar, and I'm going to rename this Health Progress Bar. Now with the Health Progress Bar selected, I'm going to set the fill color and opacity by clicking on this ribbon, and I'm going to set this to a color of red. So I'm going to have 1 for the red, 0 for the green, 0 for the blue, and 1 for the alpha. And I'll go ahead and click OK. Now in style, I'm going to click the drop down, and for the background image, I'm going to open that drop down and click on this bar for the tint. I'm going to drag it all the way down to black in the value bar and give this an alpha of 0.5. Now we have a sort of dark background that's semi-transparent. Now in the progress here, I'm going to give this some border padding. I'm going to set border padding for X and Y to both be 2. So now we have a widget component. Let's go ahead, compile, and save that. Now I don't need my weapon data, I don't need my Grux skeleton, but I do want my enemy BP open. And here in enemy BP, I'm going to add a widget component. So let's add a component and select widget, and let's call this health bar. Now here in the details panel with health bar selected, I'm going to go down to user interface. I'm going to set the space to screen space. That way the widget will be drawn in screen space and not world space. Now for the widget class, we're going to select our enemy health bar BP. So let's get that and set that here. Now for draw size, I'm going to set the X to 100 and the Y to 15. So it's a nice elongated bar. Now here in the viewport, with our health bar selected, I'm going to drag it up to where it's just above the enemy's head. Okay, so now our enemy has our widget component. We just need to bind that percent for the health bar. So let's compile and save and go back to enemy health bar BP. And here in progress, we'll see that we have percent. If you click and drag, you can fill this progress bar up. That's because percent is a value from 0 to 1, which is basically a fraction of the bar that should be full. This is what we want to bind. Now we can get a reference to the owner of this widget so that we can bind to properties on the owner. So let's go to the graph section, and we're going to add a new variable. In this variable, we're going to change the type to enemy BP, and that's an object reference. Let's call this enemy. Now we need to set the value of enemy, and we can do that from the enemy class. Let's go to enemy BP, and here in the event graph, we'll go to begin play, and we're going to get our health bar and drag it out. Now from health bar, we're going to use get user widget object. That will get us the widget object that we can then cast to enemy health bar BP. So let's do that cast. Now, once we've cast to enemy health bar BP, we can then access that variable called enemy. And we can use a setter for that. And what are we going to set enemy to? Well, we're going to set it to self. This is just like the this keyword in C++. We're going to set the enemy to this particular enemy blueprint. Go ahead and compile and save that. Now in enemy health bar BP, we can go back to the designer, and for percent, we can create a binding. So let's click on the bind dropdown and click create binding. And now we have this function for binding the health percentage. Now first we're going to get enemy, and we're going to see if it's valid. If it is valid, then we can simply get the enemy's health and max health values. So first let's get health. And we might have to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And here it is in the variables combat section. We're going to use health, and we're going to also get max health. And we're going to take health divided by max health. And health divided by max health will give us a value between 0 and 1 that is the fraction of the health bar that we want to show. So we're going to plug that right in, and for the is valid pin, we're going to hook that up to the return node. Let's go ahead and compile and give this a test. So let's hit play, and we'll see that we have our health bar. And if I shoot at the enemy, then the health bar starts to go down. Simple as that. Now, there are some things we can tweak. For example, the health bar may be too small, or you might want more padding. So let's tweak those things before we wrap this up. Let's go to enemy health bar, and in the designer, for the progress section, for border padding, I'm going to set both of these to, say, a value of 6. And then back in enemy BP, I'm going to select health bar, and in the user interface section, for the draw size, let's set these to slightly bigger values. Let's say 125 and 25. Let's compile enemy BP and compile enemy health bar BP. Let's click save for both of these, and we'll go ahead and test this out. I'm going to go ahead and open a new viewport and hit play. So in full screen, it looks like the padding is a little much. Really preference here at this point. You can set this to any value that you want. I think I'll give the padding a smaller value. So let's go to enemy health bar BP, and instead of 6, let's do something like 3 and 3. I'll go ahead and compile and see how that looks in full screen. And I think I'm okay with that. Okay, that's going to conclude this video. We now have an enemy health bar that reflects the amount of health the enemy has left. In the next video, we'll work on showing and hiding the health bar depending on what we're doing in the game. I'll see you then.